How's it going, everybody? This is Dominic Minchella. I am the Kansas City Chiefs beat writer for On SI and the host of the Kansas City Chiefs Insider Podcast. Thank you guys so much for stopping in today as we continue to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs surrounding the training camp metrics. Now, as we know, we're getting closer and closer to the midway point, almost to the end of training camp. Chiefs football is going to be around the corner sooner rather than later, and I hope that you guys are excited for it because I know I am. I've had a great time so far covering this team in the offseason all the way up into training camp, and I can't wait to do it for the preseason games as well. But today, we're going to be talking about a veteran wide receiver that we have touched on very slightly on this podcast thus far since I've been doing this, and that is veteran wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster. And now the topic that we're going to be talking about today surrounding Juju is, does he have enough left in the tank to, be an effective player on this Kansas City Chiefs team? Now, I know that the question is very either yes or no, but I will give you a in-depth detail of why I believe so, or I don't believe so, and then let you guys figure out which way I'm leaning. As we know, Juju Smith-Schuster has been having a wonderful training camp in terms of being a leader out there on the football field, whether it's in the locker room, whether it is with pads on, or whether it's just on the sidelines watching some of these younger guys and seeing what they do well and telling them about that or things that they need to kind of work on. Smith-Schuster has been that and then some. Head coach Andy Reid even said, he is explosive as a leader. He's emerging as the top leader thus far in training camp. And that can bode well going into the new season because, as we know, Juju Smith-Schuster, he might not always have to be a guy that is going to be leaned on by the Kansas City Chiefs on offense. And here's what I mean by that. In 2022, his first season with the Kansas City Chiefs, Smith-Schuster coming in out of Pittsburgh with the Steelers, played in 16 games and recorded 933 receiving yards in over 100 targets and 78 receptions. The year prior in 2021, he only played in 5 games in total with 129 receiving yards through 15 targets with the Steelers. This was the year for him to kind of be, hey, I can be this guy that you need me to be. The former second-round pick stepped up and helped the Kansas City Chiefs emerge as one of the best teams in the National Football League. Then he took a leave. He went over to the New England Patriots. In that season, we saw Smith-Schuster kind of come back down to earth a little bit, so to say. In 11 games, 29 receptions, 47 targets, he had 260 receiving yards with only a singular touchdown. Now, keep in mind, when this guy first broke into the league, he had touchdowns averaging around 5.5, 6 per season. A career high is 9. He's not going to be that player anymore. I don't see it. I don't think that he needs to be that player to be successful. But as we know, he came back to Kansas City last season, and in 14 games, he had an even more down season than he had the year prior. In 18 receptions and 26 targets, he had 231 receiving yards, averaging over 10 yards per reception, almost 13 to be exact, and he scored 2 touchdowns. This is a guy who, he's shown you how he can act in a primary role on the offense, but then also he's shown you how he can evolve to be a explosive guy in the background. And it was primarily shown in the AFC Championship game this past season against the Buffalo Bills. When you have primary targets that people are going to be going up against, i.e. last season, Xavier Worthy, he was the go-to guy for Patrick Mahomes. You also have Travis Kelce in that game, and while he wasn't so prominently noticeable in that game, you know who was? Juju Smith-Schuster, and he didn't do so very explosively. He had 60 receiving yards, but his presence was felt tenfold, and I think that if he can have that kind of presence in the 2025 campaign for the Kansas City Chiefs, while being a leader both on and off the field, it's going to be a great return for a franchise that wanted to bring him back this season. I don't think that Smith-Schuster is expecting to be the guy to be over 1,000 receiving yards, be the star in Kansas City. The beautiful thing about the way that Andy Reid has run his offensive game plan through Patrick Mahomes in the passing game is that he can throw, Mahomes being as talented as he is, he can throw the ball wherever he wants to, whenever he needs to, and be successful. With their more speedier guys on this franchise in Rashee Rice, even though he might be suspended for the first half of the season, he could come back and show that he still has the speed that kills. Xavier Worthy, we know how fast he is. Former New England Patriot and now teammate of Juju Smith-Schuster, Tyquan Thornton. He is also a guy who has got plus speed. You have the speedy guys that you can aim downfield. You've got a more consistent third down, fourth down guy in Travis Kelce that you can locate. You can also go to tight end Noah Gray in those situations. And then you got Juju Smith as well as Jalen Royals. I think that they're a perfect tandem together to be, the guys who might not get targeted a whole lot, but when they do, they're going to be known. If they're going to distract the defense and the defenders from targeting guys like Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce, and throw the ball to Juju Smith-Schuster like we saw in the AFC Championship game that elevated them to victory. I think that Juju has got a lot to bring to this team still, and while he might not still be the plus guy that he was during this first two seasons in the National Football League, he does not have to be. The Kansas City Chiefs would not have brought him back if they didn't think that he would be able to help them both on and off the field. The Chiefs wide receiving room is very young. It's a very competitive room with a young core. You bring in a veteran to kind of pave the path for these guys. I think alongside with Hollywood Brown as well. I think that the Chiefs wide receiving room can be ran perfectly with those two veterans kind of being in the ear of the other rookie wide receivers or even second-year wide receivers, or just a guy that they can lean on to talk about confidence. We heard from Juju that it's important to him to find out who these guys are as players, not as people, rather, not just as players, asking them how they are, not just showing up every Sunday and expecting, this is our work relationship. Juju is a class act, and I think that he's going to be a very vital piece for the Kansas City Chiefs this season. That being said, though, ladies and gentlemen, as always, you can follow me over on X at Dom Minchella. I post and repost every single day. You're not going to want to miss any coverage while we got training camp into the preseason, into the regular season for the Kansas City Chiefs. You can also follow us over at KC Chiefs on SI, where all of our coverage is yours exclusively free. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, as always, I'm Dominic Minchella. Be kind to one another, and I'll see you tomorrow.